Hideo Kojima and Kojima Productions should make a Knight Rider video game. Yes, their 1980s series Knight Rider. I feel they would be equipped to make a Knight Rider game. Now, there's been Knight Rider games in the past, none of which I've played, but I've looked it up, saw a few videos about them, and they're pretty much just driving games where you can use some of the features from the car kit and also solve, accomplish, complete these missions. Very basic, very rudimentary. Doesn't appear that Michael Knight gets out of the car and investigates and get information and nabs the bad guy. None of that happens in those games, based on what I've seen. And I feel a Knight Rider game should be done by Kojima Productions. Kojima is a fan of the 1980s movies and the culture of the 1980s. You've seen it come out in his video games, as in Metal Gear Solids. And I feel it would be in line specifically with Metal Gear Solid 5. And you can almost plug it into that Fox engine, that kind of design. Because from Knight Rider, from the intro, you see Kit going across the desert. Well, there's a lot of desert to go across Afghanistan in Metal Gear Solid 5, based on what I've played thus far. And I've completed about 25% of the game. And I plan to get through the entire game and explore the other areas and things of that nature. But Metal Gear Solid 5, you can travel by a horse. Well, imagine traveling by Kit. And also Kit being your buddy, kind of like you have buddies to help you out in Metal Gear Solid 5. You can retool it for that. You already have Snake getting out of cars and getting off the horse and going around. And that was a big part of Knight Rider. It just wasn't Kit. Michael Knight. He went out and investigated, got information, which you also do in Metal Gear Solid 5. He was stealth and low key and may wear a disguise or occasionally beat up a bad guy, what have you. But I don't remember him using lethal weapons. So you could, for the game purposes, give him a tranquilizer, just like Snake or well Venom in this case of Metal Gear Solid 5. And there you go. You have yourself a Knight Rider kind of game. Because Knight Rider from the TV series had evil twins, evil clone kind of things going on. From Michael Knight to Garth, Kit to the evil car that was called Car, I think, something along those lines. You had the semi-truck, which is kind of like the ACC in Metal Gear Solid 5. You have the Foundation, so you have like these home bases. And you can say why the Foundation could be Mother Base for all I know. So it goes along those lines. You have the 80s culture because it took place in the 80s. The location around California, the desert area, southwestern kind of thing going on. And it would travel along. Even though I think it was mainly in California, but I've seen him actually drive out in the desert a few times in open areas and open spaces. Kind of like they have in Metal Gear Solid 5. So I can naturally see that logical conclusion happening. And that would keep Kojima focused on what to do, because guess what? There's a whole TV series and that's something to base it off of. And we know he can do it because he likes to take references from different things. We've seen it from Metal Gear Solid 3, where he took references from James Bond, and he even threw in 80 references where they didn't belong in Metal Gear Solid 3. So, yeah, that game would be right up Kojima's alley. I think that can inspire him to make a Metal Gear Solid type of game, because that's essentially what Knight Rider would be. Very similar to Metal Gear Solid 5. And it's the right time period, and that's just something that will work well, and you could enhance it a little bit. give Michael Knight some cool non-lethal weapons, and maybe put in a few lethal weapons for whatever reason, just to have some explosive things of that nature. You can even bring in, who knows, like take from season 4 where you have these extra features for like pursuit mode and what's the guy's name? RC3, the guy that joined the cast. So yeah, bring him in that as well. You just take it from season 4, maybe build upon season 4, and go from there. And that would definitely make a good game. I think it would probably by default be the best Knight Rider game out there. And I think Kojima would be really in his bag and focus like naturally, and just take it to the next level of video games in terms of Knight Rider. That's how I feel about it. And I think that idea should be pitched to him. I don't know if it's ever been pitched to him before, but I'm just saying, I'm putting that thought out there in the world. And if y'all agree and y'all feel the same way, hey, bring that up. Bring it to the forefront. Say, hey, Kojima, can we get a Knight Rider game? And Knight Rider even has some futuristic elements to it as well. So, yeah, definitely see it. Definitely see the sneaky espionage tactical aspect of Michael Knight. And Michael Knight was a former cop before he became Michael Knight with that face of the boss. So, I mean, like, these things just kind of fits in to how Metal Gear Solid is to some extent. So that means he should be kind of good with certain weapons. He may not necessarily be as good as Big Boss, or Venom, or any of those kind of guys, but he should be able to be kind of handy with it and have some hand-to-hand combat. And yeah, I could definitely see it. Because I had played Metal Gear Solid 5, and then I caught a few reruns of Knight Rider. I'm like, oh wow, this thing is starting to melt and merge. I'm seeing the connections. And who knows? Maybe even Kojima might have been influenced a little bit by Knight Rider, for all I know, because he's really in the '80s culture and music and all that. And you can have the '80s music in the Knight Rider game, and you can still build upon Metal Gear Solid 5 in terms of that. So maybe the Knight Rider game could be the version of Metal Gear Solid 5 that people always wanted. Now, I haven't finished Metal Gear Solid 5, but a lot of people say, hey, it's incomplete, it's missing this, and they feel unfulfilled. Well, guess what? You come through with Knight Rider, and the Knight Rider shows even had a good amount of dialogue. So with that good amount of dialogue, we know Kojima likes to have dialogue, but it's going to be a more focused dialogue, and everything doesn't have to necessarily
be an exposition dump.
But it is room for that in there. And it took place in the show, so yeah. Hideo Kojima and Kojima Productions. Let's see about getting a Knight Rider game. Let me know how y'all feel about it. Leave it in the comments. Iceberg Jim out. Deuces.